How y'all doing? I always wanted to make a video about the Bible. So like, before I start making videos about my theories, about everything I think about it, us having debates and conversations about it, I feel like the best way to start like my Bible content would to be to start the Bible with Yah. A lot of people only know about the Bible because of family. But here on my channel, you can finally learn the book for your own through my eyes, and your ears can listen. It's like I'm gonna start the Bible from the beginning, from Genesis all the way to the end, and I'm gonna make a lot of videos. I'm gonna create like a little playlist thing for this so you can just watch it and you can hear like my own personal breakdown of the Bible. And it's gonna be very different, man. This ain't gonna be no old Genesis then Revelation, like me reading each chapter out like that. It's gonna be very much in verse. Like, let's say I'm reading Genesis, I'm not gonna say the whole Genesis review. It might be like scriptures 1 through 10, chapters 1 through 10. Like, you know what I'm saying? When you read the Bible, you know what I mean when I'm saying numbers and shit. Like, I guess it's the pages or whatever. But it's like, that's how I'm gonna do it. It will never just be a whole video breakdown of Revelation. And when it is, it's after I done made hella videos like Genesis 1 through 10, Genesis 10 through 20, Genesis 20 through 25. See, when I get done with all of it, then I make a collective summary video. You feel me? I feel like that's how y'all can connect. So now we're finna start with Genesis 1 through 10. And it's basically a summary of what I read and what I have understood so far. So here we go. In Genesis 1 through 10, God pulls up. He above a black void. Goddamn, he said, let there be light. Now it's light. He separates the water as above as below. He creates the space. Heavens is far the fuck away. So now with that being said, here comes the next part. Over 6 days, he make all the animals. He make all the creatures of the water. He make plants grow. He do all this cool ass, magical anime ass shit. I swear to God. But like, so then he says, somebody need to tend to all this shit. Then he makes the Garden of Eden. So now he makes man. He grabs some goddamn dirt. Man. Names him Adam. Now, Adam, for whatever reason, he's human, so he's the first person ever to feel lonely. I mean, he see the animals with they bitches. He see the plants growing. He see everybody else vibing. Even God vibing with me. I can't vibe with nobody. So God, puts him into a deep sleep. Puts him in a deep sleep. Then he takes one of his rib. And since that's a part of us, that's why she gets the name woman. And God also lets Adam name every bird and shit and every animal. But like now, Eve is here. Now when Eve and Adam is here, he already told Adam don't fuck with that apple. Now when Adam and Eve is here, he tells both of them, like, don't fuck with the apple or whatever. So now God goes back to chilling. And now it's just Adam and Eve in the garden. Eve does whatever Eve wants to do. So now the snake, it's a snake in her. But I think it's the devil. I swear I think it's the devil. But it hasn't really said it yet. But I guess I'm supposed to interpret it. Because we don't know who the devil is yet. But I do because I done lived life before reading the Bible. See what I'm saying? So now the snake basically like, man, why God say you can't touch this apple? And basically God told Adam and Eve like, hey man, you eat that apple from the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, then y'all ass gonna die as soon as y'all eat that motherfucker. And the devil basically, well, the serpent, that's what they say he is at this time. The serpent basically says, man, dude is lying, cuz. Why would he put a tree here and y'all eat that shit and y'all die? You know what really gonna happen? You gonna be just like him. You gonna know everything like how he knows. You gonna know how to decipher shit. You gonna be wise like him. So Eve eats the apple and it's so good. She then gives some to her husband. It's so good. Then they wake up. They notice they naked. They feel embarrassed. They go dress themselves. Now they hide because they got new profound fears and shit. God pops up like, where are you? And they hide and God keep calling out for them. And now they like, we over here, God. Sorry, we hid from you because we didn't want you to see our naked bodies. Even though he the one that made them. I know y'all. And then God like, but why would you want to hide from me? What made y'all want to wear some goddamn garments? So then Eve spoke up. Well, no, for real, for Adam, like, shit, she made me eat the apple. Then Eve like, hold on. That snake you created back there made me eat the apple. He deceived me. But God was like, all right, you right. Hey, snake-ass snake, you up out of here. You finna be on your belly. Don't nobody fuck with you no more for the rest of your days on earth, in your species. So now, turn to Eve, and he like, man, Eve, you right, and Adam, you right too, but y'all both disobeyed me. Like, I gave y'all free will, but I want y'all to listen to me, you know? That free will shit gets deeper. But, so now he like, Eve, it's gonna hurt every time you have a baby, and you gonna always desire your husband. And then he told Adam, hey, man, it's gonna always be hard for you to make some money, and that's what you always gonna have to do as a goddamn man. Now get y'all ass up out my garden. And then he made 2 flaming swords guard that motherfucker so they can go about their business. So now the story gets good, though. Come on now. We still only on Genesis 1 through 10. So now the next part, they had 2 kids named Cain and Abel. How this story goes, Cain tends to his crops and shit. Abel got animals and shit, and he tends to his flocks and shit like that. So now they supposed to give sacrifices to God. Abel be bringing his animals to God, and that's cool. God loves them animals. Cain be bringing plants and shit to God. God accepts it as a sacrifice, but God really like, nigga, I like the animals more than the fucking flowers and apples and shit. So now, Cain don't like that. And then Abel doesn't peep that Cain don't like that, but God peeps. And when Abel go about his business, he talks to Cain like, hey, man, why you looking like that? And Cain like, you don't like my shit, but you like his shit. And then God like, but y'all both gonna get the same reward, being able to live with me for eternity. Does it really matter if I like the cow more than the apple or the plants? And then Cain basically brushed it off like, I don't give a fuck what you talking about. You should like my shit more. That's the first person on earth to ever feel jealousy. God knew that though, and it had to be to see what comes. And then Cain goes on to deceive his brother Abel and says, let's go play in the field. He goes on to kill his brother. The blood cried out for God, and God came back and said, what have you done, Cain? What have you done? Where is your brother? And Cain says back, am I my brother's keeper? I don't know where he is. Basically being spiteful. And God says, I know you have tainted your hand by killing him. His blood cries out to me from the ground. And from this same ground, you will be cursed. You know what God did? Give him a big X. Because God still loves his children. Said, if anybody fuck with you, they going to get this punishment 7 times fold. And he banished them out. Any crops he ever tried to grow or anything would not grow right. He had to be working 10 times harder than that of his own father in order to even make a living and even be good. And then this what happens when he's banished him forever. They live in it. Something crazy happens, though. I ain't gonna lie. He finds a wife. That part confuses to me still, because at this point in time, it's only been Adam, Eve, his 2 kids. So where the wife come from? Maybe Adam and Eve had a kid, because women really not that important in the Bible for certain parts. So maybe they had a kid and she just wasn't, you know, fucking around and been in the book, or something had happened. Somehow it's a bitch on this motherfucker. But like, they go on to have kids, and then they kids basically be boastful. He went on to have this one kid that was like, Cain had a thing on his arm. If he died, you get revenge 7 times over. So my vengeance, if somebody killed me, is 77 times over. Basically, and niggas were living for hella years. So basically, that bloodline was kind of tainted. God wasn't fucking with that shit. So you know what Adam did? Adam was still created in God likeness, like all men is, but then Adam created somebody in his likeness. And he the first human. So and I feel like Adam is the first pure thing ever, because I guess things that come from him is kind of pure, or could turn into Cain. That's what I'm taking it as, because here comes the next part. Adam has a son named Seth. And Seth goes on to do all these amazing things, his bloodline. And basically, he was made in his likeness, the closest thing to God likeness too. And Seth goes on to have one son. But then he has, and basically, Seth basically stole all his big brother kid names. Like, so his big brother had a son named Enoch. He had a son named Enosh. And then he went on to name some kids similar to his kid name. Basically, it's like he took that nigga bloodline and took their names to give it a pure person bloodline. It's kind of weird because, I ain't gonna lie, Cain barely comes up again in the Bible. Cain kids barely come up again in the Bible. So I guess that nigga ain't even fucking matter. He only mattered at the point of time that he killed Abel That was the only role for him to play. That's how deep the Bible is. So now, let's keep going. Seth goes on to have all these kids. And I'm going to just keep fast forwarding because Seth's only importance is who his descendants are. And his first important descendant is Enosh. Enosh walks with God for 300 years. And he comes back, whatever, and then he doesn't die. When he supposed to die, whatever, for how the Bible make it seem, God just takes him. God takes his ass right from heaven, right from earth into heaven as a live human. Boom. But the good person, the best person that comes from this bloodline is Enosh's great-great-grandson, which is technically like Seth's great-great-great-great-great-grandson. It's our guy, Noah. And now we're here at the Great Flood. You see how all this story wrapping around together? Now we at the Great Flood. At this point in time, the earth was wicked as hell. And I guess you can probably interpret this as being giants or whatever. For maybe some strong ass niggas that God fuck around and made too strong. But basically, now you got the sons of gods, they say, made love with the children, the creation of men, which is women, because the sons of God found the women very beautiful. You had nymphs. Nymphs, in my understanding, supposed to be giants. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just, basically, there's a lot of fucked up, evil shit going on Earth. That's why I'm gonna double this. It was regular humans, other shit probably. Everything was fucking. Everything was evil. Everything was bad. Basically, how the world is now, that's how shit was then. Let's leave it at that. And God was like, man, this shit finna go. And you know what happened next? He saw Noah. And he was like, damn, Noah, you actually fuck with me. And I never even looked at you. But you fuck with me. And your bloodline fuck with me. And they all, you know what, dog? I'm finna give humans one more chance. Hey, Noah, go build this fucking boat. I need you to take every kind of bird and every species of animals on Earth and just take one male, one female as a baby size so they can reproduce. And you take all them motherfuckers, you gonna put them on this boat that you finna build for Hellas. You feel what I'm saying? And Noah built that boat for Hellas. He ain't sell that bitch till he was like down there 300, 400 years old. So now he making this boat. And the only people that was gonna be allowed on this boat was his kids and his wives and his kids' wives and then all the animals. And that's it. So now let's fast forward to the day of the flood. The flood happened on February 17th because it said in the Bible that the flood happened on the 17th day of the second month. That is February 17th. So on this flood, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. And then after that, when the flood ended like after 40 days, 40 nights. But it was hella rain and flooded up waters. All that rain and flooded waters didn't reside and go back to ground level all the way into the next year on February 27th. So from February 17th, the previous year, to February 27th, it basically rained for 375 days. There's no year 365 days, but it rained for a year. It was still flooded for a year plus in 10 days because the water didn't come back down. So, boom, that's that. So now, when all the water settles, now you know, God said, hey, let all the animals out. Y'all can eat them niggas now. Before that, everybody was like herbivores and shit, eating fruits and shit, and that was sustainable enough. But now they need animals and shit. And then also, with that being said, here comes the next part. Somehow, Noah and all his kids and his kids' wives and his wives, they all supposed to populate the whole earth now, splitting up. Somehow they got different languages and shit. They got different clans. And now let's get into that. Noah had 3 kids. You had Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now, from them 3 kids came 3 clans. The Japhetites, the Hammonites, and the Semonites. That's some anime shit. You can't tell me that ain't no anime shit. Like, that clans, nigga, and like 3 clans. Like, that's like the Senju, fucking Uchihas, and the Uzumakis. Like, and then they all basically came from the Otsutsuki god, one person, Kaguya. Don't that shit sound like them niggas in China pay attention? Anyways, so now, boom, that's the 3 clans we got. And then, basically, the 3 clans of Earth all came from the 3 sons of Noah. And we were supposed to spread out against the whole Earth. And then that's how the whole Earth gets populated, from them fucking kids fucking. And at this point in time, there was no such thing as incest. So yeah, they looked at each other like mom, dad, brother, sister, cousin, wife. But it was more of like a respect level of, yeah, I'm probably not gonna fuck you. Because they had to populate. God put repopulating in the early humans' head more than don't fuck your sister, or if you have sex, they gonna come out with a deformity. I feel like somehow God put that in ourselves later down the line when there was enough people not to be fucking your own people anymore. I feel like at the beginning we had to fuck our own people. Feel what I'm saying? But anyways, this is Genesis 1 through 10. I'm gonna finish the rest of Genesis, and I'll be talking to y'all again soon.